Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Ushanka Show. Stories about life in the Soviet Union. Здравствуйте, дорогие товарищи. В эфире программа Ushanka Show. Recently had a chance to talk to my mom. Actually, it was almost like an interview because I wanted to find out about her experience of moving to Kyiv when she was a 17-year-old girl from a small village in northern Ukraine. So once again, we'll be talking about the situation with housing in the Soviet Union, in this case in Kyiv, Soviet Ukraine, back in 1965. By the way, if you're interested in this topic, Soviet housing, I already have over a dozen videos. Everything is located in the Soviet housing playlist, and I'll provide the link below in the comment section as well. And before we begin, just a quick reminder, if you like my stories, please don't forget to like this video. You can subscribe if you haven't done so. Also, you can use Super Thank or Patreon to support my work. Thank you so much. And just a quick reminder, my mother, Elena, she was born in 1948, so she's one of the first waves of the Soviet baby boomers. She grew up in a small village in northern Ukraine, about 15 kilometers from the spot where Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian border come together. She was the second child, and her brother Misha, and I already made a video about him, link will be below in the comment section. He was 18 years her senior, and he moved to Kyiv some years prior. At the age of 17, in summer of 1965, my mom moved to Kyiv. She claimed that it was her mother, my grandma Maria, who basically forced her to go to Kyiv. She said, there's nothing to do here in the village. You're just going to work as a slave in a collective farm like we do. You need to go to Kyiv and find a better life. So in July of 1965, my mom arrived to Kyiv, and for a while she stayed with her brother, Mikhail, who was at that time already married and had 2 kids. So he lived in a small 2-room Khrushchevka apartment, so 4 people in 2 rooms, and my mom was the 5th. So of course, my uncle's wife, so my mom's sister-in-law, wasn't really happy about adding another person to already kind of like crowded quarters. So she was basically telling my mom, you need to find some housing options for yourself. You can't stay here for long. Besides housing, my mom had another problem. She never finished high school back in the village. Of course, we never called it high school. But back then, they went to school for 11 years. I did for 10. So she had to go for 2 more years to school in order to get proper education. So she had to find evening school to attend while searching for work and housing options. So my mom went back to school in September of 1965. She was attending evening school, and she also found a job as a nanny at the local kindergarten, so she could work all day as a nanny, and then in the evening she would run and attend classes in a nearby evening school. And now the real kicker. So nannies in the Soviet Union were getting paid just 35 rubles a month. This is extremely low. So you can only buy like 10 kilograms of butter. I just looked it up. You can buy 1 kilogram of butter for $7 right now in America. So picture your salary in butter, only $70 a month. So no local ladies wanted that job. So out of 8 girls in that kindergarten, all 8 girls were out of town. So there were like migrants, village girls that came to the large city, and they couldn't find other job or housing options. So they took the job in a kindergarten for the low pay, just 35 rubles a month, because kindergarten, being desperate for nannies, offered them option. You can sleep in the building. You can stay in the kindergarten like a youth hostel. So you work during the day and you sleep there during the night. According to my mom, she worked as a nanny and lived in the kindergarten for 2 years, from October 1965 till October 1967. And the difference was the other girls, they were from villages nearby Kyiv, so for the weekend, they'll go home. And since my mom was 250 kilometers away, she stayed in the kindergarten every weekend as well. Of course, on Saturdays and Sundays, kindergartens were closed. And since there was a kindergarten, the children's beds were tiny. So my mom said she had to slide 2 beds next to each other and they lay mattresses across, and then she would have enough room to sleep comfortably. So can you imagine, my mom had to work all day with kids as a nanny. Then in the evening, she would run to the evening school to study, comes back, knocks on the door. You know, every kindergarten had a guard, some old lady just kind of watching over the place. And then she would shower. Fortunately, kindergarten had a small shower, which was blessed. And my mom said it was just amazing to be able to take a hot shower because out of her village, we had no running water. Still no running water, so that was already a huge improvement. And because they cooked for children, so you know where we're going now, right? So they were able to actually have some food for themselves. My mom said they paid a little bit to have lunch, but breakfast or dinner, there was enough leftovers after children that the girls could eat for free. And now I have a question for you boys and girls. Would you consider my mom being homeless for these 2 years? Because, you know, we all know there was no homeless people in the Soviet Union, but if you have to live in the kindergarten, sleeping on the children's beds, how close you are to be considered a homeless. Then in 1967, when my mom finished the evening school and she got her, let's call it high school diploma, she began searching very hard for better job opportunities. And when you look for job opportunities in the Soviet Union, you don't look for the money because pretty much pay is about the same everywhere. You're looking for places that offer housing options. Also, my mother, well, she already lived in Kyiv for 2 full years. She was missing one big important thing, propiska. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will have a link in the comment section to the video, but that was a permission to live and like you were being assigned to specific apartment or dorm. So that was an important part to have propiska if you live in a big city. And of course, sleeping in a kindergarten doesn't qualify you to get a propiska. So my mom was searching really hard to find any job that offered dorms. And with the dorms, you would get temporarily propiska for 1 year. Someone told her that if you go and work at the brick factory, you can get housing in 1 year. So she worked 1 night shift, you know, pulling hot bricks out of the ovens. And she worked just 1 night and she realized she's gonna die before she gets a housing option. So she quit after 1 night at the brick factory. Fortunately, there was a lady at the kindergarten who worked as a nurse and she really liked my mom because she saw she was a hardworking, honest person. So she set up a meeting with her husband. So there was like a job interview, and through that lady and her husband, my mom managed to get a job at some construction company, and they offered dormitories. So that's how my mom finally moved from the kindergarten to the normal dorms. And I asked my mom more details about the dormitory, and she said that she shared a small room, about 140 square feet room, with 3 other girls. So 4 girls in a tiny room, a single bathroom for the whole floor, and a single kitchen. Then about a year later, after my mom moved into dorms and she got her temporarily Kyiv propiska, she met my dad, who also came to Kyiv from a small village and also lived in the dormitories from the aircraft factory in Kyiv. So they started dating, they got married, and then they had another problem because he lived in the dormitories for single men. My mom was in dormitory for single women. Now they had to find dormitories for married couples, but that's a different story. I already talked about it in my other video, and I'll post a link below in the comment section. Spoiler alert, then my family spent another 5 years in a family dormitory when we shared 1 room with another family for 5 years. And I remember some of those days because I was almost 5 when we finally managed to move out in our own tiny apartment. But yeah, for 5 years, we shared 1 small room with another family who also had a kid. So 6 people, total strangers, in tiny room together for 5 years. Don't you find it's kind of bizarre that it's such a different system, you know, socialism in Soviet Union, capitalism in America, but so many problems are very similar. There are low-paying jobs that only migrants are willing to take, issues with housing, but in America it's just too expensive, and in Soviet Union it's just hard to find. So there's a lot of similarities, which I find kind of hilarious. Okay, so this is the story of my mom and her experience of moving to the big city back in 1965. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like this video, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.